Like at the end of the day, it's like, dude, there's so much money out there in the world.
Yep.
Everyone can go get it.
For sure.
It's out there for the taking and everyone can win.
But you got to work hard for it, and you gotta put yourself in those positions to succeed. And I think when you find out what those positions are and how to succeed, share that knowledge, share it to everybody, and hope that
Hmm.
they do succeed. And we work together. It's fun when you work that way, and it's less stressful because if you know you're helping others, it's gonna all come around and help you as well.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, we are in for a treat. I got one of the most interesting personalities in all of San Diego. He is the host of 933 in the morning, and he is on CBS San Diego 8 every single morning. I got my man, Frankie V. Welcome to the show, brother.
What up, Rich? Good to see you, my brother.
Yeah, man, it's been a little bit. We were neighbors over there at the Ariel apartment
Yeah.
building next door here in San Diego. And since I've seen you last, you've been engaged. So congratulations on that, man.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the chance. I moved out of Little Italy about 7 or 8 months ago. Moved down to the Otay Ranch here, and since then it's like it's time to quote unquote grow up. I did get engaged, and I have
Uh-huh.
a house versus an apartment now. But life is good, man. Life is really good.
I love that. How long you been dating the lady for?
She'll tell you 10 years. It's about 5.5. So it's getting to the point where it was time to
Yeah,
pull
yeah.
that trigger, and I'm glad I did.
Okay. And how you guys liking the new place down there?
I love it, man. It's funny. We're just talking about this, but like I was able to build a home studio for
Mhm.
radio and to do a lot of stuff out of there. And it's different. It's suburban life. So like here in Little Italy, you walk out and you go down and you go to Barbusa and you go to all the restaurants and it's right there. Suburb life's a little bit different, but it's not bad. I kind of like it.
Yeah, yeah. For me, that would be a huge culture shock because I mean, I've been in this neighborhood for 6 years. I don't know
Yeah.
how long you lived here, but
hmm
I just love walking outside. We got all these nice restaurants
For
here,
sure.
just so much to do. But who knows? Maybe things will change if I get engaged one day.
That is true, man. Maybe it's
Yeah.
time to make that move. But nah, it's good. And then Uber's great. I mean, we're 15, 17 minutes away from here. So, jump into an Uber, get down there just as quick as walking. So it's not bad.
Yeah, I love that. So I know you're on CBS 8 now. You
Yeah, I
got
get
you
to,
got a segment in the morning.
I do. It's really cool. I'm with Eric and Netta in the morning there. And it's cool because with technology, I literally do it from the Channel 933 studios.
Yeah.
So before we go on the air live with Gina and Frankie in the morning on Channel 933, I jump on with them, and it's so cool. I literally fire it up, pop in, do a 2, 3, 4 minute segment with them, and then I go to the radio. So it's kind of cool to do TV and
Yeah.
radio every single morning.
What do you guys talk about in the morning there?
So for CBS 8, it's kind of cool. It's a what's trending segment, but it's turned
Yeah.
into like top 3 or top 5 things, depending on what's going on in the world. And,
Yeah.
when we're talking about, the Super Bowl, like things to have at a party. And we find a fun twist on each little thing, Valentine's Day coming up. So it's just like the top 3 things that are trending within different subjects where we have fun.
Speaking of Super Bowl, man, we
Mhm.
got Eagles and we got the Kansas City Chiefs
Yeah.
this Sunday out in Arizona. Who you got, man?
It's funny. I have no skin in this game. And like,
Yeah.
I'm such a big sports fan. I'm a Patriots fan first and foremost. I grew
Yeah.
up in Boston area and I just love sports. So I want a good game. And I know that's so cliche to say, but I really don't care who wins. Except for I want it to be a good game. I will say you have 2 of the most exciting quarterbacks in the NFL. So
No
that's
doubt.
that's going to be cool to see. Part of me says I don't want the Chiefs to win because it's the same when the Patriots are winning. It's like they're becoming that dynasty that you want to see somebody else beat. Part
Yeah.
of me also says it's kind of cool seeing them, doing what they're doing. So I'm torn on, I guess, who I care. I just want to watch some good football.
Yeah. And you're going to be, we were talking before we started recording that you're
Mhm.
going to be at the Hard Rock.
Yeah, it's funny. We're doing a little twist on it. It's a Channel 933 party at the Hard Rock. But we're playing off of Rihanna because, I mean, everybody, even if you're not a football fan, you're there to at least watch Rihanna's quote unquote concert at halftime. So we're having a Rihanna concert watch party for the big game at the Hard Rock. And it's going to be fun. And yeah, I get to host that. Listeners can come down. Anybody's invited. And it's just a fun way to celebrate a cool Sunday.
Yeah, I love that. For the listeners out there, the Hard Rock here in San Diego has got a super cool outdoor space, just good ambiance and just good venue for socializing and
Mhm.
just kind of hosting a nice party like that.
It's
So
a fun vibe. I get to do a
yeah.
lot there from New Year's to Halloween to their to the football party. So it's a cool venue. But for me, again, I love like a good vibe with sports, and I feel like we get a bunch of people that are rooting together.
Yeah.
You feel like you're at the game, even though we're doing it from San Diego.
Dude, you're always hosting a bunch of different like events. I feel like every other weekend you got something going on and you're
Mhm.
like hosting different events. Is that all through 933 or how do you get set up with a lot of those gigs?
So it's funny, when I first started, I moved to San Diego in 2006 for
Okay.
the radio position from the East Coast, and a lot of it was coming through the station, and a lot still does. But also, you start to network and do stuff. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna MC the opening day for San Carlos Little League, and that's like a friend of a friend who reached out to me to do that. And obviously, doing what I do in San Diego with Channel 933 and CBS 8 puts my name out there for people to want to utilize my abilities to MC. But a lot of it comes from connections now that I built, which is exciting. That it's fun being in a studio doing a morning show and being with
Yeah.
Gina, Chris, and Eric on a morning show. But it's also amazing to be out there and meeting people and hosting events and taking pictures with listeners. It's my favorite part of the job.
Yeah, I love that, man. I feel like everyone in San Diego knows who you are, and
Thank you.
everyone speaks very highly of you,
I
and
appreciate
rightfully
that.
so, man. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Love everything you're doing. I want to jump into the real estate stuff, but
Mhm.
before we get into the real estate stuff, take me back a little bit. Like, how did this whole radio thing even come
Yeah.
to fruition? Is this something you've always wanted to do as a kid?
It was like probably junior or senior year, and I tell this story, and it's funny looking back, but growing up in the Boston area, this guy, Steve Burton, was the big sportscaster in Boston. He still is the sports director for the big TV station there, and he grew up in my neighborhood, probably 10, 15 years older than me, but I would see him on TV talking sports and being at the Patriots games and being at the Red Sox games, and I'm like, that looks like a fun job. Like, that doesn't look like work to me. You're on TV talking sports. That was always my goal, was to do sports TV or sports radio. I went to college in central New York, a school called Hamilton College. I played football there, did the frat life, and then outside of that, any of my free time was spent in the radio studios there, and I did color commentary for the basketball games, and I had like a guy talk show, and then I also had like a hip hop top 40 show, and I started to really enjoy all of it, but then I realized the music side is pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a job out of college. I sent my tape to 100 different radio stations, and nobody replied. So I was like, I'm never going to make this happen. Luckily, a guy that went to Hamilton College was at the time, he's now the SVP of the Chargers, which is cool. But at the time, he was a general sales manager at a radio station in Boston, a sports station. And I took a job in advertising sales, selling commercials. And I'm like, I'm gonna get my foot in the door there, and I'm gonna tell him I want to be the best salesperson. But I would sneak into studios late at night and make demo tapes. And I started sending out better demo tapes. And I got on at a small station in New Bedford, Massachusetts, which at the time was market like 180 or 200. And from there, I got part-time in Boston and Hartford. Then I went to Portland, Maine for a year and a half. Was my first full-time job.
How old are you at this time?
At that time, I'm 21 when I started in sales, 23 when I got my first full-time job in radio.
Wow.
Then I went to Hartford, Connecticut for a year and a half, and then San Diego and LA gave me the opportunity to move out here, and it kind of went on a whim. I said, I'll do 1 year on the West Coast. Let's go. And 16 years later, we're still here. I'm on in 20 different cities across America. I get to do an afternoon show with my brother back in Boston on our hometown station, Kiss 108, and it's the V-Bros. That's kind of what we call ourselves. And it's kind of been our moniker for many years because we're, Frankie V and Mikey V. And we didn't know if we'd ever get that chance. And now we do 5 hours a day, every afternoon, 2 to 7 in Boston for afternoon drive, which is absolutely crazy. I do that from the studios here in San Diego. So I saw like full fruition. So I get to be on the East Coast and in the West Coast. And I do it all from sunny San Diego, which is kind of cool.
Dude, I love that you initially wanted to get in as like a sports broadcaster, and then now you're doing this whole thing. But I also love that your brother's on the East Coast. He's out of New York, right?
He's in Boston.
He's in Boston,
our hometown.
and he's doing the same thing. So who got into this first? Was it you or him?
So I'm 8.5 years older. So the cool thing is the older brother is, I was in Portland, Maine, and I'm like 23 at the time. So he's like 15 and in high school, and he's seeing what I'm doing. And I got him an internship in Boston at a station, and I helped him get one. And he started to touch it and feel it and like it and saw like what radio was. And he would always say, someday I want to do what you're doing. And it was kind of cool to see your little brother wanting to do that. And then he started working his way up. And now, he's big time, if not bigger than I am in the business. And it's kind of cool to see little bro doing that, and getting to do it together is really cool. And it's he's my best friend. We say that all the time. So getting to do this show together in Boston's cool.
Your brother's super cool. I remember jumping on a couple calls with him a couple years back when we were discussing some real estate deals. Tell me a little bit about what you and your brother are doing in the real estate space.
So it's funny. So I taught him radio, and I say I taught him. He learned a lot on his own once he got the breaks, but he kind of followed me on that. And then when it comes to real estate, he started doing a lot of that, realizing the opportunities, the finances you can make from it, and the excitement that comes with real estate. And we got our first place together in Everett, Massachusetts. This was probably 2015 or so. We bought a duplex at the time, and
how did the idea like even come to fruition though?
So he had met some people in his travels of radio that did real estate, and kind of got in his head of like how great it really can be. It's a lot of work and it's stressful, but the great stuff of it. And he found this place in Everett, which is a part of Boston, and I had some extra funding at the time to be able to purchase it, and he didn't at the time, but he understood the real estate side. So we kind of went on this 50-50 where it was, if I bought it, he would manage it, run it, rehab it, get it all set to go, and make it a project for both of us. And we did that, and it was kind of cool. We watched it grow, had tenants in and out, built it up, and were able to flip that and sell it, and then realized like you can do this more and more. And my brother, through the journeys, would get into different deals and get rentals, and I'd watch him doing things. So I started doing the same, which is really cool. And now he's, on a side where he's got a big network. So he's taking on investors and helping flip and build projects. So I help fund some of the projects that he's doing, and he teaches me on how that works. And, we have a property in Boston now in a city called Medford where it's a rental that we both are 50-50 on. And it's just fun. Like I dabble in it and do some stuff with his lead, and he actually does it, almost like it's almost like 50% radio, 50% real estate. But it's so intriguing to watch. I watch your videos and what you do, and I watch all the stuff he's doing. I get to be a small part of it, and it's fun. It's like almost like I'm so consumed by radio that it's like that takes your mindset of creativity and you get to bring it somewhere else. And I
Yeah.
think it's a cool little avenue of I don't know, financial stuff, but also just like life. It's just cool to be a part of like the real estate conversations.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that you guys are doing that. Hey guys, real quick, I hope that you're finding value in this show. If you could do me a huge favor and drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you're listening on, it would mean the world to me. Also, if you know of anyone that would potentially benefit from this podcast, feel free to share it with them so we can help more people build wealth through real estate investing. Now back to the show. How did he learn to even start partnering with people with the money and that sort of thing? Did he have like a mentor starting out, or?
So he did have some people that he followed along in their footsteps
Mhm.
and learned from. And I think, probably some of it was trial and error. He started
Yeah.
doing stuff. So he would invest into some projects and I would too. And we'd kind of learn and then onto others. And then I think eventually he just became more and more known in Boston and met a lot of developers and met a lot of people that were flipping projects. And I think they realized with him, his key is his connections. Like I get to meet a lot of people in San Diego, know a lot of people here. That's him back in Boston. And I think it's almost where people took him under his wing and taught him real estate a bit. And he kind of taught people how to connect on that side. And through that, I get to
Yeah.
learn from him. It's fun.
I love that. And you guys, you mentioned you're doing some flips.
Yep.
Or do you guys ever put some long-term loans on these properties and hold them?
Yeah, we do. I had a few that I had. A lot of them I'm trying to push off and try to get to the next ones and whatnot. And long-term holds. We have one in Boston right now, the one that we're working together. Basically, we got a nice place. It was cool, but with my brother's connections, completely renovated it, flipped it, and at one point we are gonna sell it because
Mhm.
you see the value, take it and keep building. But it's turned into the spot now that we're turning that into a long-term hold and a great rental property. And I kind of like doing both because it's nice to have that rental property that you can hang your hat on. And 20 years from now, when you need that money, you sell it at that point. And it's also exciting to say, hey, I have this, and hey, we're getting, income off of this place, or able to get enough income to keep on renovating and keep it going and watch the value grow. And I kind of like the hold part of it, right? At some point in our lives, if I'm not doing radio anymore, or I move on or I retire, it'd be nice to say, hey, well, we have this investment property where we could sell it and then take the funding there. I also do like doing some of the hard money loans or the investing into properties that flip quickly because that's also, you see the return,
The ROI.
the ROI a lot quicker. So it's almost finding the nice balance of both. So yeah, we have some holds, mainly that one for myself and him, and then, the short-term stuff as well.
Yeah, I love that. And like you said, it's like, you all these real estate deals that you hold long term, they're like you're planting all these seeds
Yep.
and they grow over time. The rents go up over time.
They
The
do.
valuations go up over
For
time.
sure.
The rents, I don't think if you study the rents in America since 1940s, I don't think they've ever gone down. They only go up.
For sure. And, and even like the property values, it's funny, where stuff goes up and down is going to. But if you look long term, and you know this more than I do, like you look from 10 years ago until now. And I was talking to my financial advisor and we're talking about buying property. He's like, man, property's so expensive right now. And he said, that's right, it is. But you know what? In 5 years from now, you're going to look back and say, man, it was so much cheaper 5 years ago than it is now because it constantly just grows.
Yeah.
It's almost being able to understand the fact that the long term of real estate, it goes up. It's like the stocks at times. I mean, point A to point B is a lot that goes on in between. And I see with real estate, when you study it, you just see that. I mean, our parents bought their houses for pennies
Yeah.
back in the day. And at that time, it was probably expensive for them. But now they have properties that are probably worth $1 million that they bought for 30,000 years ago. And it's like,
It's crazy to see like the time horizon of real estate, especially here in Southern California.
Mhm.
You look at properties in, Coronado, for example,
Yep.
that are selling for $5 million today. Back in the 1930s, those things were selling for like 12,000.
For sure. I always
Crazy,
say
right?
this, and it's crazy with San Diego. It's like, it took forever to develop into a way that it is now. And it's like, it's perfect weather. It's such a great city. But I really feel like it wasn't until probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that people were realizing that this is such a city that's going to continually grow. And even more so in the past few years where, the pandemic hits and everybody's like, where can I live if I can
Yeah.
work from home? And it's like, why not go to San Diego where it's 70 degrees 95% of the time? That being said, when you buy property here or some of the cities that, are destination cities, you just know in long term it's going to continually grow.
Yeah, I'm so bullish on San Diego. Like when you just look at the fundamentals here,
Mhm.
geographically, to the north, you got Camp Pendleton.
Yep.
And to the west, you got the Pacific Ocean. To
For
the
sure.
south, you got the Mexican border. And to
Yep.
the east, you got the mountain ranges.
Mountains,
And
it's
so
crazy.
from a supply standpoint, there's not a lot of land to build on.
No.
I think there was a study I saw recently. I forgot who wrote it, but she studied all these markets in the US. And I believe San Diego was like number 1 or 2 in terms of like there's just no land to build on.
Yep.
And so as people continue to move here and the population grows, it's just going to push pricing up because there's just not a lot of land to build on.
Right. And they always say, it's funny because when I first started to buy real estate and do stuff, and even for like a personal property, you say, is it a good time to buy? And the real estate agent would always say, if it's a good time for you, it's always a good time to buy. And it's almost like I felt like at the point, but I was younger and more immature to the business. And I'm like, you're just trying to sell me. You just want to get the commission off the sale. And now that I look back, like the house that I bought in Medford, Mass, that we're now, renovated and making it a rental. I was so nervous to buy that place. I'm like, this is a good time. This is the best price to buy this, that. That was in 2015. You look at it now, it's like 8 years later. It's like, the growth on that is like, he was right. If it's good for you right now and you're able to get into the game and buy a property that you can eventually probably turn into a rental and make it a long-term hold, because yes, it's always a good time to buy if it's right for you. And it was funny though, at first when I said that, I was mad. I'm like, he's just trying to sell me. He just wants to get my money, even though it was my homie that was the real estate agent, we still had that mindset. But it's true. Like in cities like San Diego, Boston, other cities that there's not a whole lot of space to build, people still want to live here. How are they going to do it? They want to buy a place. How are they going to buy a place? Well, they're going to have to pay top dollar.
100%. And the other factor that, you got to look at is the inflation. The government just prints money like it's going out of business, right?
Right now.
Or like it's going out of style. And, if you look at all the money they've been printing since the dollar came off of the gold standard, right? Yep. And since the pandemic, I mean, they printed 40% of our currency in 2020, early 21 alone. 40% of our currency,
wow,
the money supply.
That, yeah.
And so when you think of it that way, it's like, it's almost impossible for pricing to really, really go on sale if you would, when there's just so much more money out there.
For sure.
And then you're leveraging in assets, you're using the bank's money to finance a lot of these deals. And so now you're utilizing leverage, which just supercharges everything.
And I also noticed like this time around when I purchased in San Diego or Chula Vista Hotel Ranch, how tough it was to get a loan. And not tough that it's not possible to do, but it was like the process is definitely a lot more stringent than it was in 2008 and all that, where, people are saying, well, it's going to crash again like that. I know the difference from 2015 to 2002 of buying a place was a lot easier to get a loan to now. I mean, even if you make decent money or you have good backings, it was question upon question to the point, am I going to get this loan or not? And going through the process was frustrating because you're like, why can't I just get this place?
Yeah.
But looking back, I'm glad, right? Because that's showing you that they're not just handing out these loans and making it happen. So it also shows it helps the market withstand itself because they're not just putting people in positions they really shouldn't be in, which causes the issues, obviously, with the mortgages.
Yeah, because you're right. Because leading up to the '08 crash, it was like stated income. So like anyone could go in there and say, hey, I make $500,000 a year. They'd be like, okay, we believe you.
Does your mom have a note that says you got this and you get it, right? Now it's definitely not like that. So, again, nobody can predict the future, but you can tell by the way that they've learned from the faults of past mistakes within, the real estate markets and how to sustain it.
We're going through that right now with this hotel deal here in San Diego. So we had a few different lending options on the table, but the one that we were banking on coming through pulled out. And so the other lending options that we were left with was just reduced leverage. So we were expecting to get 70% loan to cost, meaning they would finance 70% of the purchase price and 70% of all the renovation improvement costs. But that got reduced from 70 to 65, and then our rate went up because of the uncertainty in the interest rate environment that we're in. And so the best lending option that we have that makes the most sense is actually an SBA loan product, which is like a government-backed product, and they'll go up to 85% with a much cheaper interest rate. But the caveat is you cannot raise capital from investors to utilize that loan product. And so I had to make a split call. We were like in the 11th hour. Our due diligence was ending yesterday at 5 p.m. We had $100,000 deposit in initially. And then we sent in another $100,000 yesterday morning. And we had till 5 p.m. to cancel the contract and get our $200,000 back. And so I found out literally at 2 p.m. yesterday that all of our lending options had changed. We're like, holy cow, guys, we got to cancel and get this thing back. So send in the email literally at 4:45. And I hate canceling contracts.
For sure.
But I said, we got to get this email in. And then after the email last night, I reached out to the broker. I said, hey, man, give me like another 14 days. What are the chances this seller would be okay with it? Because they're a big private equity group out of LA, and they just want to get rid of this deal. It's off market. And they stopped their renovation plan. They were going to like do a light renovation to the hotel. But when we came in with the offer, we're like, hey, we're going to buy this thing. They stopped, put the renovations on hold. So they want to sell too. The broker wants to get paid. Everyone's trying to get this thing to the finish line. I said, hey, give me 14 days. I think I can figure it out. And literally within 12 hours, we figured it out. I'm like, hey, we're going to do an SBA loan product. So what I'm going to do, we can't raise money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell my Scottsdale property. I'm going to sell that thing, and then I'm going to 1031 exchange the proceeds into this hotel. Never wanted to sell that Scottsdale property. I'm like, man, it was such a fun project. But if the trade-off is buying this hotel and I get to own, we get to own a 24-unit hotel here in Lit Italy, I'm doing that 10 days out of 10 days.
100%. And and I like what you're saying there too. It's getting creative, right? And that's what happens, I think, in these changing environments is some people succeed, some people fail. And it's those that succeed are the ones that get creative. Like how, because you go with your gut and this project is worth that adjustment in what you've been doing. And it's like, but you got creative. Also good for them to say to you, yes, we'll give you those days. They trusted in you, obviously, what you've been doing and the successes you're having to say, yeah, we'll give you those 14 days. We'll give you those 12 days. We'll give you those 10 hours, whatever it is to get it done. And, you come through, you crush it, you make it happen in the hotel here. And now I'm sure the next one's going to be even easier because now that you succeed on the one here in Little Italy and you show the circle that it took, more people are going to be like, let's work with Rich and let's make this happen. But I love that you got creative and you pulled it off. I mean, that's what you want to do.
That's the name of the game, man. Every single deal I've done, there has been some sort of like roadblock. And it's like, okay, well, you just got to get creative and figure out a solution.
That's kind of what makes it fun, right?
It does.
It's stressful and it's scary, but I think, they always say like nothing's ever perfect. And if it was, everybody would do it, right? If everybody could just buy a hotel, everybody would.
Everyone would.
If everybody could just figure out how to do it, and not everybody can. Not everybody wants to put that effort in, and not everybody probably has the creative smarts that you do to say, let's make this happen. But again, that's where success happens. And someday when you're crushing and you got 12 hotels, well, man, Rich is just lucky. No, Rich is creative, smart, and a genius, and he pulled it off. So it's cool to hear that story.
I appreciate that, man. And honestly, I think quite frankly, like anyone can do real estate. You could teach it to a 5-year-old. The principles are very, very basic. It's just about taking consistent action every single day and then getting creative with all these solutions. But yeah, that one will feel good to get to the finish line. So we'll see how that one turns out. It's funny though, because the broker called me today and he's like, hey, I just had a conversation with the seller. I said, okay, what'd they say? And he goes, the seller said, we think that you guys are the best buyer for this deal, and they're going to operate it much better than we can because, Summers Capital, the office is located 6 blocks away. We're up in LA. It's an afterthought for us. We believe in their business model. They're going to do really well with this deal. We want them to buy it, and we're willing to work with their extended timeline. So awesome. That was kind of cool.
It is really cool. And I'll be there. I'll stay there. It's like, I like supporting those that do. And I feel like you have a lot of people who want to support you as well. And I think it's just exciting to hear that and exciting to see you. And we're talking about earlier, that's what makes you enjoy what you're doing. It's the stresses, but those excitements of saying, hell yeah, we pulled this off and it's time to get this done on to the next one. It's pretty cool.
I appreciate that, man.
Of course.
I appreciate that, man. So want to switch gears a little bit, man. So you're a sports fan.
For sure.
What do you think of the San Diego Padres, man? They're coming off of a big run here. They were a couple games shy of really going to the World Series last year. We got Fernando Tatis Jr. coming back, hopefully, right?
We do. Hopefully got Xander Bogaerts from the Red Sox, which is huge. Yeah, hopefully Tatis stays away from that cream he was using or whatever that caused.
Whatever it was, yeah.
I'm excited, man. And I'll tell you for 2 reasons. One, as a sports fan, I love it. Growing up in Boston as a kid, it was funny. We would always say that, like, going to a Red Sox game was like a holiday. If dad was able to get tickets, teachers understood that I was skipping school because I was going to that 1 o'clock game. And it wasn't a question of that teacher would be like, oh, I'm jealous. Get out of here. Go to the game with your dad. I feel like San Diego, obviously, Padres have been loved, but I feel like they're just not lately had that opportunity to be like, you know what, let's really get behind it. And seeing what happened last year, even the year before during the pandemic season, it was cool to see San Diego get directly behind them. Like last year, how exciting was it that every bar in San Diego was packed for the games? One, that's great for the local economy. And two, it was exciting as a sports fan. And three, working in media, doing radio, doing TV, like it gives you something exciting to talk about. I remember a handful of years back, like we would give away tickets to a Padres game and people were like, whatever, it wasn't a matter. Last year we had some tickets leading up, closer to the playoffs, and our phone lines are crazy. And my DMs are blowing up. Like, how do I get these tickets? I want these tickets. And I love that. Like as a media person, I did, but as a sports fan, like how effing cool is it that like the team here is what everybody's talking about? Getting the text messages from my friends back home in Boston being like, bro, you guys got the squad. Like this is it. I don't think I ever thought growing up in Boston like that I'd be living in San Diego and having people from Boston saying, we got to come to a game, man. The Padres are the team to watch. So to answer your question, man, I'm excited. I'm hopeful, very hopeful. I like how the ownership is handling the deeper pockets, which causes obviously.
Dude, they're throwing money around.
They are. And it's
I
almost,
love it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like scary to say the words, but
they're
it's
playing
exciting.
to win.
They are. You see the Xander Bogaerts move out of Boston. It's like they had Soto. They just got him. Of course, they got Tatis and Machado. And they're like, you know what? He's available. Let's pay for it and let's get him here. Darvish just signed another big deal.
I saw that.
Past couple of days, and it's like they're smart. One, they're retaining the players like Darvish. They're talking about Juan Soto wanting to make sure they lock him into a long-term contract. It's like it's awesome. And it's cool to be in the city that deserves a winning sports franchise. So I'm excited for this.
Absolutely, man. And, to piggyback off of what you mentioned, I remember going to games 4 or 5 seasons ago where you couldn't even give tickets
You
away,
couldn't.
and you go on like a Friday, Saturday night, and it was like 30% full. Now, and I'm a season ticket holder, but now I remember we were actually up in NorCal working on some hotel project. We flew in,
Hmm.
we were flying back that evening, 6 p.m. They had like a 7 o'clock start that night or whatever
Yep.
it was. But it was the Wednesday that they got Josh Bell and Juan Soto.
Yep.
And we're like, hey, we got to go to this game. So we rolled in a little bit late, right when we got to the airport. We rolled in there, and I was with my team member, Andrea, actually. And I remember walking in Wednesday, middle of the week, middle of the season on a Wednesday night, and it was 100% sold out. And just the energy and the
That's
vibe was just nuts.
so
dude.
amazing. And what I love about the sellout crowds are, one, being a part of that's great, but two, and I'll say it again, is like the local businesses succeed so much more.
Mhm.
Like, I have friends that own restaurants and bars downtown, and it's so cool to see those ones packed. Like, the game's sold out, but I still want to be a part of the energy. You go to those restaurants, and then in the playoffs when they were away and they were in other cities, the bars downtown were packed. It was just
Yeah.
like, it's such a cool feeling to be a part of it. It's cool to go to a game that's sold out. Now it's like, if you get a ticket to a sold out game, like, damn, you got to go to that game. Back in the day, I was like, I don't know if I want to go. I don't care. Like, if your homies would hit you up to go to a game, like, no, I'd rather just stay home tonight. Now you get that phone call from your friend. It doesn't matter what game it is, what time the game is. You're like, dude, you want me to go? Yes. And I miss that growing up, like I said, on the East Coast with that vibe in Boston of these games. It's exciting for you to say, hey, I'm going to land and go right to a game. Like 5 years ago, you'd be like, nah, I'm cool. I'm going to go home and go to bed. Like, it's fun, man. I'm excited for this season. I'm excited to see how far they take it. I mean, knock on wood, on paper, they probably have one of the best, if not the best, squad there is in Major League Baseball. So it's going to be good.
I completely agree, man. Just the energy and the buzz right now. I'm already looking forward to the opener. I
Hell
think
yeah.
we're in February now, so
Yeah,
it's
end
only
of
2
March.
months away,
Mm-hmm.
right? I saw the Padres were doing a bunch of like local stuff a few days ago. I saw like Jake Cronenworth and some of the guys were actually here in Lida, Italy. I think it was last Friday.
Yep.
Are you ever getting these guys on your show?
Yeah, we've had a handful of them on before. It's it's a lot of times it's a manager that comes on our show, and it's kind of
Yeah.
cool to get them on too, because they're fun to talk to. But players will come on with us for sure. I do a lot of charity events that some will be at, which is really cool as well. And again, that's what I love about the Padres. They're such it's cool. They're going around town. They're in Little Italy. They're in Chula Vista, and they're players that want to connect with the city, which is awesome. So they'll come on the radio sometimes. We do have a sports station in our building. A lot of them will do that stuff. But yeah, we'll get either players or management on with us, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And last year they got us out there to throw out the first pitch, which was cool. I've done that a few times, and it's like those ways like where they tie in with the media and get us to be a part of what they do is pretty cool.
That's very cool. What is it like throwing out a first pitch? Is it a
It's
little bit nerve-wracking?
Yeah, and it's not like I'm not nervous to do it, but it's like your friends are gonna razz you, and that's the biggest thing. Like, it's near impossible. Well, I for the most part, to get on that mound, pretty much stone cold to get on the mound and throw a strike. And every time it goes one way or the other, and you got the crowd there. So my biggest fears are when it doesn't go strike, and having all your friends see it on social media and be like, really, bro, you're an embarrassment. So that part stresses me
Did you
out. But
practice before you went up there?
we went in the outfield and throw a little bit, but it's not like I throw a baseball. Like, as a kid, I played baseball growing up
Yeah.
through high school, and like you throw it all the time, but you go out there and throw 5 or 6 or 7 practice pitches. It's not like the same as when you get on that mound, but it's fun. But it's a cool opportunity. And I love that the Padres and media team up and we get to do cool stuff with them in
Yeah.
regards to that.
So you've done it twice. Did you throw a strike both times?
Hell no. It's like, it's like put them with Major League, ball 4, ball 6, ball 8. I mean, everything is always high and tight, but I've never like done a 50 Cent with it where it just went completely haywire. So
Yeah. I had Cliff Averill on my podcast. It was like one of the early episodes, but he's up in Seattle, played for the Seahawks for like
Yep.
10 years. But Blake Snell is
Yep.
starting pitcher for the Padres. He also is from Seattle, and he's getting into real estate investing. And
Yep, I saw
so
that.
Cliff has been connected with Blake, and Cliff's like, hey, I'm going to make the intro.
Dope.
So I'd love to get him on the show. I'd love to get a lot of the Padres on the show, man. It'd be awesome to just chat it up with them. And I want to get Tatis on. That would be cool.
That would be really cool for sure. I wonder how strict they're going to be on his interviews and
With the steroid thing or what?
yeah, all that, because it's as much as you say, it's funny. Like when we interview artists on the radio, there's always like a list of questions like, stay away from this, stay away from that. But I feel like when it comes to sports, it's a little bit different. Like you
Yeah.
get somebody like him on your show, it's almost like guaranteed to say, so what does it feel like to be back and being out because of the steroids? It's like, oh, dang it, I said, what I mean? It's like navigating those waters are a little bit more difficult. I'm not saying that he won't,
Right.
but I'm curious.
And as a podcast host or, host of any show, it's like what makes a good host is you got to ask the
You have to ask 'em.
tough questions, but it's all how you frame it, right?
I was just going to say, it's funny. Like we talked to Coldplay the other day, and the big thing with them was focus on their show. They're going to be in San Diego. But you got the Super Bowl coming up. And of course, they performed there a few years back. So I had to find a way of like tying it all together. And, we made fun. I'm like, hey, Rihanna listens to our show all the time. And she actually DM'd us, wanted to get some advice from Coldplay, the best way to perform at the Super Bowl coming up in a couple of weeks. So so they laugh. And
I
all of a
love
sudden,
that.
they
That's good.
she's listening, really, Rihanna. So it becomes a fun way versus like a direct, hey, I know you come to San Diego, but tell me about the Super Bowl performance you did. Now it's like that direct thing where you're told not to, to kind of stay away. So we found a fun way. So you're right. It's how you frame it, how you navigate that question to get an answer that might not originally have been wanted to been asked, but you find that answer coming your way just because of the way you ask it.
That's actually a really good way to frame it. I like that.
I do. And it's fun in interviews because when you make a conversation like that, and I think a lot of sports players, artists in general, hate the same questions that come directly at them. So it's like finding just a fun way to make it a conversation and joke
Yeah.
around. But I do wonder sometimes, like with a player like Tatis or others that are mostly him, I guess, that are coming off such a high profile situation. How do you get him on a mic? And even there's like navigating that question around, it's kind of tough to bring that up. But
Yeah. It's like asking Kobe Bryant about the rape allegations back when he was playing. Like
exactly,
people were
right.
doing it, but they were
For
yeah.
sure. And I'm sure he turned down a lot of interviews,
Oh,
and
for
I'm
sure.
sure they probably wouldn't have put him on too many podcasts just in case, stuff happens. But it
Yeah.
would be cool to get.
Learning to become a successful real estate investor can take a lot of time and dedication, which some people just don't have. If you're one of these individuals, this doesn't mean you can't invest in real estate. My company, Summers Capital, is buying a bunch of boutique hotels right now, and you can invest with us in these deals without having to do any of the work. Our team sources the deals, we secure the lending, we take care of all the renovations, and we even handle all the day-to-day operations with our in-house management company, making it truly hands-off and passive for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, go to summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show. As a TV and radio personality, do you have other personalities that you kind of like model your game after and like look up to?
When I started in the radio, there were so many. And it was funny because as a kid wanting to be on the radio, I would listen to as many as I could. And I remember I would write down, and it was like the station I'm on now in Boston, my brother, Kiss 108 was the station we grew up listening to. And the on-air talent there is, this guy by the name of Dale Dorman and Artie the One Man Party, like all these people that I aspired to be. So literally, and I remember my mom thought something was wrong with me one night because it was like a Friday night and I went with friends and I was back home by like 8. And mom's like, it's a Friday night. Like, why shouldn't you be out with your friends? And I went in the room and I locked the door. And, it's weird for a kid to come home and lock your door, but I would listen to the radio and I would take notes on what they were saying and try to emulate them and be like, I'm going to be them. And it was funny, as I started getting going in radio, the number one thing they said is don't try to be anybody else. So it's almost like I was so mesmerized by what they were doing, but I found a way to take what they did and made it my own. So I feel like when I was younger, there was a lot that I looked up to. Again, Steve Burton the guy in Boston that does sports TV, that was the guy that I watched on TV. And I'm like, I want to be like him. And I would kind of take ideas and notes and looked up to him. When it comes to talent now, I mean, I look at things differently. Like instead of just what they do on the air, but it's like, how do they turn it into a bigger brand? And you see somebody like Ryan Seacrest, and I work up at Kiss FM on some weekends, and I actually got to be on with Ryan a couple of weeks ago, and he was asking me about the engagement. It was kind of cool. And like, to me, I'm like, I'm talking to Ryan Seacrest, and he's asking me about my engagement, and he played back some of the audio of when I did the engagement. And that was kind of cool. And not so much just cool talking to him because of who he is in radio, but he's a business guy as well. Talk about real estate. He's got places. Talk about TV shows. He's created so many of the biggest shows, and like all the stuff he does. And I almost look up to them in different ways versus just a radio site. How do they take what they do in radio and make it bigger? And, doing CBS 8 now is always one of my goals, to take radio and turn it into a TV opportunity too. And that's what I look up to when it comes to the mentors. So I look at the guys like Ryan Seacrest and others that have been able to take radio and turn it into a full-on life brand outside of just radio.
I love that. And I sort of do the same thing. Like I'm always studying entrepreneurs that are also in the real estate space, but are also good at putting out content.
Yep.
And I'm just picking up little techniques because, I'm trying to improve my game a little bit.
Yep.
If I can just get a little bit better on, how I frame a certain clip or a reel, that's a huge lever, And so I'm studying, I'm not trying to like mimic them, but I'm just like, hey, like that's a cool technique. Maybe I can put that and spin it into my own thing.
For sure. And it's also funny because the more that I get to do, and the more that you get to do, and it's funny because you say, who do I look up to? It's kind of weird when people start to look up to what you're doing or when you start pushing others. I got a DM the other day from a kid that's super successful in radio, and I see stuff that he does social media wise and national wise and whatnot. And he messaged me and said, you work so hard. He goes, just so you know, I see it. And because of you working hard, it's forcing me to work harder. And it was like kind of cool because I see what he's doing. And, he's probably a handful of years younger and newer in the business, but I like seeing what he does. But it made me like kind of stop for a second and say, man, like I was that kid, like reaching out to some other people saying, hey, how did you get to where you are? Like, because of what you're doing, it motivates me. So to have somebody do that to me, it was kind of cool. And it's almost like, it's not that I don't aspire to be anybody else or see that anymore, but it's kind of interesting. And it's almost reverse now. So I work hard and I look up to those that are below me that are trying to outwork me almost. So it's a weird way of looking at it. So some of the people that I mentor myself off of are the ones that are trying to come up to where I am, and
Hmm.
it's fun. But it was cool to get that DM, and I've had a handful of those. And it's weird when people reach out to me or hit me up, hey, can I get 10 minutes on the phone with you to talk about how you got to where you are and what you're doing? And it's kind of an exciting part of the business where that shift happens. But it's those ones that motivate me more because
Yep.
I know that they're watching my hunger and doing what I'm doing. My brother, for example, I see how hard he's working. Like crap, older brother can't slip because little brother's gonna come up. So it's
Yeah.
the shift is kind of cool.
Dude, you're exactly right, man. I feel the same way. Like that's just it's what it's all about. I get those sometimes too. Like recently someone that I helped a little bit and he recently reached out to me last weekend and he just sent me some photos of a deal.
Yeah,
He just did his first real estate deal. And he was like, dude, I just wanted to like thank you for like the inspiration and
yeah,
like all your help along the way. But he's like, I just finished his first project and
huge.
now it's an Airbnb. I'm like, dude, good for you, man. And like that's what it's all
You know what
about.
I love about that is like you are excited that he was able to do that. And I feel like oftentimes, be it media, be it real estate, there's the egos and there's the insecurities of like,
Mm,
I don't want people to do better or this. I don't want to help somebody out because of that. And I feel like I had so much help to get to where I got to. I had so many people that mentored me and worked with me that I like giving back to others. And I always said that to myself. Like I remember those that helped me when I was getting started. And I'll always answer the phone call or an email or a DM when somebody needs help from me. And it's cool because I get excited when they become successful. That's cool you see that as well, and I think that I wish there's a lot of people that are like that, but I feel like I wish everybody was like that, and it would not be like the fears of anything, but more so let's bring everybody up because
yeah,
I feel like the better there are in people in radio or real estate, the better the business becomes.
of
Like people
course.
that are doing well pushes me to work harder, and if everybody's working harder, it's a better business overall.
Yeah, it's like the scarcity mindset
Hmm.
versus the abundance mindset. You know, I think one of the reasons I love real estate investing is because everyone in this space, not everyone, but probably 95% of people in this space have the abundance mindset. They want to help others
Yep.
win too. I think you have some of the old school guys that are like, hey, like, these are the tricks of the trade. I'm not going to share my tricks with
Right.
anyone, and it's my way or the highway. But a lot of those guys are phasing out now,
They are, and on the
and
same hand, if they share that knowledge, it makes it better for everybody. So if you're looking to get investors to invest, and say somebody invests and it doesn't go well, like they're going to tell 10 people, don't invest in real estate. It sucks because
yeah,
they had one bad thing. But if that went well, they'd say, where else can I look to, spread my wealth and do more real estate investing? And I feel like if everybody's doing well and helping each other, the more investors that come through are going to be like, this is a great way to make my money grow versus having bad deals because people weren't trained correctly on how to handle stuff.
yeah. I don't reside with that scarcity mindset. I think some people are like that. I've had some friends, old friends that I no longer hang out with that kind of had come
Mhm.
from that mindset, and it's not aligned with where I'm going. You
Radio's
know
the
what I
same
mean?
way. Like when I listen to the radio and I hear stations that don't sound good, I get frustrated because I want you to turn on the radio, be it my station or another station, and say,
Hmm.
"Damn, radio still has it." Like I love radio, I like listening in, it's great. But if you turn on the radio and you're like, "Man, this sucks," and I don't like the music, I don't like these personalities, that makes you not like radio, and that's what I work in. So I want everybody to sound great, and I just want to sound better than them, But it pushes me to do that. But I don't want it to be like I want them to suck and us to be good. I want them to be good, and I want us to be great, so that everybody that tunes into the radio says, "Dude, I love radio." I want people that are in real estate to be like, this is a great opportunity to grow my finances. And the better that everybody else is doing, the better that we all get to do. And I think you're right. That scarcity mindset doesn't allow that. But I think there's enough people out there like yourself, myself, and others that want others to succeed. And when you get that, the synergy just causes success all around. But I think it's not 100% of that time. But
Yeah.
I like surrounding myself by those that like to lift others up.
Same. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, it's like, dude, there's so much money out there in the world.
Yep.
Everyone can go get it.
For sure.
It's out there for the taking, and everyone can win.
But you got to work hard for it, and you gotta put yourself in those positions to succeed. And I think when you find out what those positions are and how to succeed, share that knowledge, share it to everybody, and hope that
Hmm.
they do succeed. And we work together. It's fun when you work that way, and it's less stressful because if you're helping others, it's gonna all come around and help you as well.
It's almost a selfish thing to help others because to me, it feels good to help others and,
Mhm.
and help them come up. So it's almost a selfish act to actually help others if you think of it that way,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
But I love it. But I love seeing others succeed. I don't know if it's just me or what. I mean, you're probably the same. But like somebody else succeeds and they hit me up with their wins, I'm like, hell yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
But on the same hand, in my mindset, it's like you just won. Now it's my turn to go win, and it's like it motivates me to step my game up. If everybody's losing and I'm doing well, it's like I can flatline and be okay. But if everybody around me is winning as well, does nothing but want me to win. And my group of homies that I have, my friends, like from the top to the bottom, when one wins, we all win, and it's such a cool thing. And like by a win. It could be me doing something great in radio. It could be one of my buddies, getting a 50-cent raise at his job. It doesn't matter what it is, but if it's a positive step, it's kind of cool to see each other, pull each other up. And I think both in media and real estate, that's where success comes from, is when everybody helps each other grow and make it such a better platform, be it media or be it real estate, because there's so much positives in both, and it needs that synergy to really succeed.
I love that, man. So you mentioned the wedding. Ryan
Yep.
Seacrest was asking about not the wedding,
The
but the
engagement.
engagement.
Yeah.
I remember seeing when you posted on social media.
Mhm.
For listeners out there, it was like a cool, and I encourage all you guys to go follow Frankie V. But it was like a cool. You were on stage or something, and you had a bunch of fans. What was going on
It
with
was
that
pretty
engagement?
wild. It was fun. I couldn't figure out the best way to propose, and it's funny. And life is funny because you've seen so many proposals on TV, and your friends have all proposed and all this, and when it comes down to your turn to do it, like you don't realize like it's actually a big moment. Like you kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna propose, I get a ring, we'll just move forward. But you start off getting the ring, like you start to say, well, where do I get the ring, and what's the
Mm.
ring supposed to be like, and what's the budget supposed to be? And luckily, I had somebody help me navigate that, and this place in Rancho Bernardo, Unicorn Jewelry, the guy Fred, they were so amazing because I came in there like, bro, I don't know what to do, and he's like, I got you, because they're in it. And then when it came to the proposal, I was back home in Boston, and my brother recently just got engaged too, and he did it a week after me. But I came home for Christmas, and my mom's like, Mikey's about to propose, first week in January. I'm like, crap, I can't let little bro like propose before me. And I was trying to figure out when's the best time to do it. So I talked to my fiance at the time, she was my girlfriend's parents, and I'm like, here's my options. What do you think? And they're like, New Year's Eve would be great. You're going to be on stage at the Hard Rock Hotel, a huge event. You're going to have a lot of people there. Like, it'll be a really cool way to do it. So I contacted my buddy Dave, who works with RMD here in San Diego, and he's kind of like the head of the Hard Rock party. I'm like, bro, need your help. Let's go. So he was literally Bill Belichick behind the scenes, like writing up a game plan of how we're going to do this. And it was great. My fiance had no idea this was coming. We were at the party, and Gina, who I work with on the morning show in Channel
Mm.
933, her goal was to get Courtney on stage and pretend like she was going to be doing video work for us on stage to do a big announcement about the party. So we're on stage talking, and Gina's like, let me get Frankie's, better half up here. Courtney, come on up, Courtney. And Courtney's there now. She's doing that and talking to her, is when behind her on the screens that, they had pictures of us together, and then it said, will you marry me? Courtney obviously couldn't see that. I dropped to her knee, did my proposal, and the crowd went crazy. And it was just so funny because her face is like of confusion. Like, what is happening? Oh my gosh, it's happening. It was priceless, but it was in front of 1,000, 2,000 people.
Wow.
Obviously a lot of the friends were there. Everybody there, I think, knew who I was from the radio stuff and talking, but all of a sudden their eyes are up on me and they realized what was happening. I've been on stage in front of thousands at a time, 20, 30,000 at a time. But I'll tell you, being in front of 1,000 to 2,000 people at that moment was probably the most nerve-wracking thing you can do. And there's just so many things that were going through my mind. And it was funny because on the air, like the whole next week,
Uh-huh.
Gina, Chris, one of our producers, and Eric were just busting my balls on how, well, you messed this up, and you didn't do this, and you forgot to do that, and how about this? So we did a reproposal again on the air, which
You're
is pretty
on the
funny.
air.
But anyways, yeah, it was cool. It was
Yeah.
on stage at the Hard Rock, long story short, in front of a bunch of people, and it was just, it was crazy. It was good, but it was like, to anybody that hasn't done it yet, it's like, it's a moment.
Did she get tipped off that it was happening?
She didn't. It was actually funny, and she'll probably hate that I'm sharing this, but I mean, it was 5.5 years, and she was giving the hints. It was like, well, what's going on? Like, how much longer are you
Yeah.
going to wait? And that night, New Year's Eve, we're staying at the Pendry Hotel, and I had that all decked out for afterwards too. And I had this all going, and we go to the hotel, and she knew a bunch of my friends were going to come by there beforehand. And we went to dinner, and she was like, I don't want to go tonight. I'm like, what do you mean you want to go tonight? She's like, I don't know. It's going to be another New Year's Eve where, everyone's going to say, oh, another year passed and you didn't get proposed to. How long is Frankie going to wait? Blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And it was the funniest thing in a way because in the back of my head, obviously I knew like in 2 hours from now I'm proposing to you. But let's play along with the game. Fine, don't go. It's totally fine if you don't want to go there. I have all my friends there. It's fine. You can go home. I'll be home by 1, so I'm playing up to this. And she's getting all upset because she's like, I just understand why it's taking so long to propose and is it ever going to happen? I don't want blah, blah, blah. So she was like, fine, I'll go tonight, but blah, blah. Long story short, as we walk into the hotel, my buddy Jimmy's wife was even nagging him, how long are you going to wait? And they all knew that was going to happen. You're going to wait. How much longer are you going to give him? And so they're firing her up. So obviously the
Oh,
whole time there,
man.
she's back of her head, she's like so frustrated that she's at this party because, all my friends in there, there's thousands of people there. So she had no idea that was coming, gets on stage. And I think it was pure shock that I pulled it off. And
What did she say afterwards?
she
After
said,
after you guys were off stage and kind of on
she's
your
like,
own.
I'm sorry. She's like, what? She's like, man, I sound like a brat too. She's like, you have a good poker face. You pulled that off pretty well. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of fun when it's an argument that is a fake one. Like, and sometimes you get frustrated in a relationship and you have differences and you got to work
Yeah.
through them. This difference was one of me knowing exactly 2 hours from now, like everything you're mad about is going to be cleared when I hand you a ring. So, yeah, she apologized and she knew that she was feeling a bit of a pain. And she said I had a good poker face, and I was pretty proud of myself for
Dude, that's a
Find
crazy
that love.
story, man. But congratulations,
Thank
and
you.
that's exciting. So where's the wedding going to be, and when are you guys thinking?
So that's so funny. That's like the next question that always comes in. I think you forget, like when I was not engaged, I would say that often to my friends. So what's
Mhm.
going on? What's happening? And the tough thing is, it's like in my mind, it's not like an instant thing. So we're trying to figure that out. Ultimately, probably sometime next year. We've been stopping by some venues and going through some tours now, and just trying to figure out the size, the budget, the things that we want to do. But it's so funny because again, you think, oh, you grew up, you propose, you get married, you move on, not realizing everything that goes into it, from getting the ring to proposing to then planning a wedding, then actually having the wedding day, and then but it's cool because I feel like I'm so wide-eyed, bright-eyed and open to it, but I don't think I ever thought in my life, like, this is how it is, like, the thoughts of it, like, now
Yeah.
that I'm in the midst of it, like, you gotta find a venue, you gotta figure out the numbers and all this stuff. It's like, man, all my friends that have been married went through this, like, how so but it's fine. So it's exciting, and it's also been a cool process of checking out venues, but to answer your question, we haven't decided yet the date. It'll most likely be in San Diego and most likely be sometime next year.
Speaking of venues here in San Diego, well, what is, and I know you've DJed all sorts of different parties
Mhm.
here. What is, in your estimation, is your favorite venue to party at here in San Diego?
It's different on that too, as I've done different things in the scheme. I feel like a partying in San Diego has changed. Like
Yeah.
for a major party, my favorite to host, I always say it every year, but New Year's Eve, where I proposed at the Hard Rock, I just love that New Year's Eve party. I've been emceeing that for probably a decade, and it's just such a good vibe of fun. So I'd say my overall favorite party every year is there. I love going to Barbusa right down the street here in Little
Mm.
Italy. And what I like about there
What do
is
you do there? Because that's like a high-end Italian
yeah,
restaurant.
and I just go there to eat, but what I
Okay.
love about it there is the vibe, right? So the
Yeah.
music's loud, it's fun. So on a Friday night, like I got up this morning at 3:15, and it's been a long day. I won't be home until probably 5:30 or 6. And it's just a long day. But if I go there and just do dinner and have a couple of drinks and the vibe, I could be home by 9 o'clock and say I had a fun Friday night.
Yeah.
So kind of like how it in my life has evolved sometimes. So a party, there's going out and partying, or there's like having that party feel without having to go crazy. So if I'm gonna have like a more chill, quote unquote party night, I love going to like a Barbusa in Little Italy. But I love downtown there. Rustic Root's another great place. I love
Mm.
going on the rooftop there.
Yeah.
I feel like it was funny years back when I was living in PB, and my buddy, it's like, let's go get a drink. I'm like, I'm tired. And now he goes, bro, we live in San Diego. He's like, let's go to by the beach and get a drink. He's like, we could be living in anywhere in America. We live in San Diego. Let's take in what we can. So the fact in December or January we can go to a rooftop downtown at Rustic Root and have a drink, it's like I love doing that. Or like Lumi is another rooftop sushi place downtown right
Dude,
above
I've yet to
Hunter's.
go there, man. I've heard
Oh,
great things about
you
it.
gotta go. And another thing, it's a great vibe on a rooftop, and it's something about that rooftop because we're able to in San Diego in the
Yeah.
winter months do that. I love those kind of parties, I guess, quote unquote parties. So it's tough to say. I mean, back in the day, I used to love going to Flux when Flux was open downtown, which obviously is shut down. That used to be my spot before that did, and
That
you
was a
know,
fun one.
really fun. And so there's a lot of great places, but long answer to your short question is New Year's Eve party at Hard Rock's my favorite party overall. Rooftop place I enjoy, and then dinner at Barbusa on a night that I've had a long day. It's cool.
That's a good combo. I like that, man. And I'm kind of with you in the same boat in the sense that, like, I would say since the pandemic,
Yeah,
that I don't really go out and party anymore.
it's different.
I prefer to go out to a nice dinner,
Yep.
go grab a couple of drinks in the neighborhood,
Mhm.
and go into a setting to where I can actually socialize and have a good
Well, that's
conversation.
the other thing too,
You
and
know what I mean?
I think I learned in life too. It's like being able to socialize is a big thing, and get out there and meet people is good. But I also like to be able to wake up the next day without that hangover.
Yeah.
And I know as we get older, like obviously the hangovers come and that your life changes. But what I love about getting up the next day is I can gain success that day, be it getting to the gym in the morning or doing something that motivates and stimulates my mind versus laying in bed until 1 o'clock with a hangover and then eating some junk food to cover the hangover. Then all of a sudden it's time to go to bed again and the day is ruined. I'd rather create the day versus let that day get away. And I think as I do more stuff and get busier, I'm hyper focused on that success. And I've realized not that I don't do it, not that I don't turn up until 2 in the morning sometimes still,
Yeah.
but if I can have a fun night and be in bed by 10, I
Yeah.
don't, back in the day, I'd feel like, damn, Frankie, you're a loser. Why aren't you going out tonight? Now it's more like, great job. You had a good time. You got in bed at a decent hour. And I can still get up at 6 or 7 on a Saturday and start that day and
N-
enjoy it.
Nothing good happens after midnight.
It doesn't. There's a lot of fun that can happen, but it can lead
That's
to
true.
trouble. But the issue is the next day. And it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like I wasted so many Saturdays and Sundays. Granted, I wouldn't say it's wasted because I had fun the night before, but now my mindset is let's use those days to create something
Yeah.
instead of laying in bed.
I love what you said. You said, create the day, don't let the day get away. I love
Mhm.
that.
And it's true because I feel like so many times people do that, right? Or,
Yeah.
you wake up in a bad mood and it like ruins your whole day, or like you wake up hungry, whatever it is, it sets you off on the bad foot. But if you wake up ready to go, I feel like there's 24 hours in a day, and it sounds again cliche, but let's use them all to the best of our abilities. And I'm not saying you have to go balls to the wall always, but if I can get up out of bed by 8 or 9 at the latest on a Saturday, get a workout and stuff, and have a couple of hours of me time, Like, I'd rather have me time of whatever that would be, watching football or going to the mall and buying something because you worked hard, whatever it is. It's like, if you sleep that day away, none of those moments happen and the grind begins again on Monday. So I kind of feel like creating those opportunities to make life better for yourself instead of letting it waste, it's a good thing.
I love that, brother. Well, man, it's been real. I appreciate you coming on the show.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Maybe we'll have to, maybe I'll drop by on Sunday. You're going to be at the Hard Rock for the Super Bowl. Maybe I'll drop by.
I got a spot right there waiting for you in front of that big screen TV.
Yeah.
Always invited to my events.
I appreciate you, my man.
Back
Yeah,
at
maybe
you.
I'll stop by. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.